Hello, Pioneers. Today is Wednesday, October 1st. My name is Haley Bright.
And my name is Olivia Del Bianco. Welcome back to the press.
A powerful 6.9 magnitude earthquake struck in the central Philippines last night, killing at least 31 people and injuring many more. The quake, centered near Bogo City, toppled homes, collapsed walls, and cut off electricity, leaving residents in the dark. Rescue workers are battling landslides and debris as they search for survivors in hard-hit mountain villages. Authorities briefly issued a tsunami warning, though it was later lifted, and officials warned the death toll may still rise as damage assessments continue. Now, before we continue with the rest of the show, here's Halima with a look into some recent riots taking place. Halima?
Good morning, Pioneers. Today we're going to be discussing the Nepal riots.
Around 3 weeks ago, Nepal took the media by storm, experiencing their first major uprising since the young republic came to be in 2008. However, since the republic's birth, the concepts and promises of stability and economic growth and prosperity have not been met, and the youth in Nepal are beginning to respond in violent demonstrations representing a wholesale rejection of Nepal's current political class for decades of poor governance and exploitation of state resources, says Ashish Pradhan, a senior advisor at the International Crisis Group. Around 2 days prior to the unfortunately deadly demonstration, on September 7th, Ms. Pandi, a young environmental campaigner, shared videos of environmental lands of Nepal being turned into mining sites, claiming that the land should belong to the citizens, not reach private companies, and calling on to the people to, quote, march against corruption and misuse of the government's wealth, end quote. However, older citizens infiltrated the protests and started to become violent. The Nepal police force responded with tear gas, water cannons, and shots, killing 72 people, and the violent protesters burned several official buildings, homes of political leaders, and luxury hotels, costing around $21.3 billion in damages. What was supposed to be a peaceful protest against Nepal's government choices and upper elites and their Nepo babies' apathetic choices and lack of care for the greater good of the country ended in violence, but the younger generation of Nepal have made it clear. Their voices will be heard, and they are no longer willing to stay silent.
That's all for today, Pioneers. And now, back to the desk.
Thanks, Halima. With the recent government shutdown going into effect, let's throw it over to Kylie with more information on this issue. Kylie?
Thanks, Olivia. The government officially shut down at midnight last night after Congress failed to reach a federal funding deal. A Republican-backed bill to extend current spending for 7 weeks cleared the House but fell short in the Senate, where Democrats demanded healthcare tax credits extensions in return for support. The disagreements are over restoring Medicaid cuts and extending Medicare subsidies. While it is unclear how long the shutdown will last, millions of federal workers now face furloughs or must work without pay. Social Security checks, student loan payments, and mail delivery will continue. However, many services, ranging from national park staffing to scientific research at the NIH and CDC, are coming to a halt. Federal jobs deemed quote-unquote essential, such as air traffic control, TSA agents, and military personnel, remain on the job but without pay. President Trump has responded to the news of the shutdown by threatening to impose mass layoffs of federal workers. Both Democrats and Republicans are placing the blame on each other for the inability to successfully pass a spending bill before the shutdown went into effect. The last government shutdown we saw occurred during President Trump's first term in 2018 and lasted roughly 35 days. It is unclear as of now how long this one will last. That's all for me. Now back to the desk.
At a gathering of nearly 800 top military leaders in Quantico, Virginia, President Trump and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth pushed for changes to the armed forces. Hegseth criticized former military standards, rolled out stricter fitness and grooming rules, and promoted to return to the highest male standard for combat positions. President Trump pledged $1 trillion for the military in 2026 and told generals they were helping to reawaken the warrior spirit. This decision was received significant pushback from some in the military, including retired flag generals.
Hurricane Humberto has strengthened into a powerful Category 4 hurricane, now tracking northeast in the Atlantic and potentially bringing danger to parts of the U.S. East Coast and Bermuda. Similarly, Tropical Storm Imelda has formed near the Bahamas and has now intensified into a hurricane, with models suggesting it will head towards or graze the U.S. southeast. Coastal warnings and watches are in effect as the forecasters are advising of possible heavy rain, flooding, and storm surges along the Carolinas and Florida. The potential interaction between Humberto and Imelda introduces uncertainty.
On Sunday morning, a gunman drove a vehicle into the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, a church in Grand Blanc, Michigan, before opening fire with an assault rifle and setting the building on fire. Police said at least 4 people were killed and 8 others injured. The suspect, identified as 40-year-old former U.S. Marine Thomas Jacob Sanford, was killed in a shootout with police minutes after the attack. Authorities are continuing to investigate his motive, while community leaders and officials, including Michigan's governor, commend the violence.
That's all for today, Pioneers. Keep up with current events by tuning in next Wednesday for more national news. For the press, I'm Haley Bright.
And I'm Olivia Del Bianco. Have a great week.